Okay, so there are problems where you're going to have a coefficient here that will stay, but for the problems that you're going to see this week, it's going to be a GCF. So that's always going to be that first step. No matter what kind of factoring you do, you always check for a GCF first. And you've got a nice little sneaky one with these, because if this first term is 4, try 4. See what happens, okay? So you factor out a 4 and see what it gets you. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we just have x squared minus 20 divided by 4 is 5 with the x, and then we have a minus, and then negative 96 divided by 4 should give you 24, okay? And then that middle piece there, look at that, it's just a MAM, just like we've already been doing, okay? So you will see problems next year where you'll still, even after a GCF or something, you'll see a number here. We're not going to worry about those right now, okay? So let's get into this. We know that 4 is just going to hang out in the front, and then this is a quadratic, so I know I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses, and to multiply to get x squared, I get my x and x, and then I can do the same process I've been doing before. I'm going to set up my little t-chart. I need 2 numbers that multiply to get me negative 24, and when I add them together, they give me a negative 5. I know, because I'm multiplying to get a negative, that I'm going to have a positive and a negative. And I know, because I'm adding to get a negative 5, my bigger number is going to be the negative number, just to help me narrow down which numbers will work. Okay, so just start listing numbers that multiply to give you 24, or look at that multiplication chart, right? I know that 2 and 12 work, I know 4 and 6 work, I know 3 and 8 work, and then because you know about your signs, I know my bigger number is going to be the negative one, and I can go straight across and add until I get negative 5, and I find my 2 factors. So positive 3, negative 8. Okay? And remember, you can absolutely write this as x minus 8 and x plus 3. These are both absolutely correct. There is not a preference of which one to pick. Okay? So let's look at another one like this. If we sneak over to number 8, again, we've got a number here in front of my x squared. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to divide each of these pieces by that GCF of negative 3, right? If that first term is negative, we always want to divide out a negative. So if I divide out negative 3, I'm left with x squared. 21 divided by a negative 3 is going to give me a negative 7x. 54 divided by a negative 3 is going to give me a negative 18. Okay, and then I've got that nice quadratic again, right? This is another MAM situation. MAM, make sure you're putting that on top. So my negative 3 will come down. I've got my 2 open set of parentheses with my x's in the front of each. And now I can make my little t-chart. I want numbers that multiply to get me a negative 18, but when I add them, they are a negative 7. Okay, so again, multiplying to get a negative tells me I'm going to have a positive and a negative. And because I'm adding to get a negative, I know that the bigger number is going to be a negative number. So 18, let's see, that's 2 and 9, or 3 and 6, or 1 and 18. Don't forget about 1 and the number itself. That really is an answer sometimes, and I feel like that's the one people forget about, okay? And I know my bigger number has to be negative. So let's see. Oh, look, negative 7 right off the bat. First one. Awesome. So I have a positive 2 and a negative 9.